this is a unique time in history. We've not seen anything like this, and it's both exciting and terrifying. And if you're not thrilled out of your mind by this and equally terrified, you might not understand it well enough to do. And then what I'm sure is going to happen is everybody is going to show up with their phone fully loaded for bear with their own, agentic tools, their own claws, now in quotes. So how those interface, it's the Wild West of whatever you think your future is going to look like. And what we do for a living is try to sort that out. This is not a technical issue. There's no technological challenge here that any of my clients are likely to solve. Every morning you're going to wake up, absolutely brand new technology is going to be available to you. But where you must work, where you have to put in the time, this is not on the technical depth, but on the cultural depth. This is a leadership challenge in the extreme.
What is the connection between the Emmys and AI? What is the connection between TV jingles and AI advisory? And how does film school land you in technology? I could go on and on and on about this in today's episode. Welcome to another Employee Experience Labs podcast from the Munich Podcast studio. Employee Experience Labs podcasts are about HR tech, employee experience, shared services, and other interesting topics around HR at the workplace. Today's episode is an addition to our Startup and AI series we are running, but it is very different than what you have watched before. Today, I'm not talking to a founder. I'm talking to an AI advisor, someone that helps company leaders drive AI transformation. Shelly Palmer, professor of advanced media, one of LinkedIn's top voices, and an AI advisor and coach to business leaders. Shelly has a very interesting background and path towards AI, which illustrates how he got all his knowledge and experience. He was one of the early ones in AI and continues to stay on top. We went really deep on AI and how to transform your company with AI and into an AI first. And spoiler, Shelly has a very hot take on the late mover advantage. So if you're not yet in with AI, you might not have lost it all. But what am I talking here now? Listen and watch it for yourself. Shelly Palmer, CEO, the Palmer Group. Hello, Shelly. It's so great to have you today. I was really looking forward to today. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
That's fantastic. It's so great to have you on. As I said, I was looking forward to that because that is today a bit of a different episode of my podcast. I'm not talking to any peer. I'm not talking to anyone who has a startup idea, a great idea on how to make employee experience or HR technology better. Today, we're doing something different. We are going deep into the weeds of AI, of technology, and how the heck we make this successful.
Sounds
And for
good.
that, we have you. But Shelly, before we get into that, we know each other a bit, but my audience doesn't know you. So what about we start with a bit of an intro? Who
Wow.
are you?
Origin stories. Let's see. Mom and dad met at Juilliard. They owned music stores. I grew up in a very musical household. They were both music
Amazing.
educators. Started writing music at an incredibly young age, about 4 or 5 years old. Started
Wow.
my career as a professional musician roughly age 12. Was the first musician ever in the Musicians Union in New York in Local 802 to be listed as a synthesizer player. Skip ahead a little bit, after film school, went to work for a music production company, then opened my own music production company, wrote music for TV for the first, 40 years of my life, and directed a
Wow.
bunch of TV commercials. And we created all kinds of technology to make the production workflows faster. So started with electronic musical instruments and then digital audio workstations. We helped pioneer those. We helped pioneer digital video workstations, and I have a bunch of patents in various workflows in and around the ad tech, martech, television, advertising business. And at around 2000, when the dot-com bubble blew up, it was interesting because Disney came looking for a patent of mine, and and I was sort of wondering about, I'd done an awful lot of music. I think if I were to take the job this year, I'd do the music for like my 5,000th TV commercial. I mean, I've written a lot of music. And so they offered to buy one of my patents, and I was
Yeah.
really interested in it. It was the patent that ultimately was used the underlying technology was used to create enhanced TV for the ABC television network, so you could play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on your
Yeah.
computer, and while you were watching the show, you could do
Wow.
your fantasy football with Monday Night Football while you're watching the show. Celebrity Mole, that reality TV show, you could play along at home. So it was really an interesting time to watch the Disney people take my ideas and turn them into reality. That was amazing, and wrote a couple books and got kind of excited about, the technology side much more. I'd been doing music since I was 4, and I'm like, this is all new and amazing, and I just we the technology I'd created and I'd worked on had only ever been to, increase the productivity of my own production company,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden I was doing, like, underlying technology for really interesting workflows. So, got a little bit known for that. We started a thing called the Advanced Media Committee at the Emmy Awards. I'd been involved with the Emmys since NYU Film School as a student member, and I was technology chair, and then ultimately, kind of you rise through the ranks, and at some point in my past, I was president of the Emmys for 4 years, and then I
Wow.
sort of got out of that pro bono thing and just really started it because once you're at a certain level, it's sort of like, "Okay, I've been there, done that." So, I haven't really been involved with that organization for a long time, but it did open up a wonderful world of corporate peers who were doing every aspect. Back in the day, the reason that, I was very interested in creating what became the Advanced Media Emmy Awards
Yeah.
because back in the day, honestly, you didn't know we hadn't named user experiences UX or user interfaces UI, they just existed, and, like, the highest level of cool was a grid guide going by on your cable channel, and we were about to make them interactive with set-top boxes. The patent behind me there turns
Yeah.
a cable node client, the set-top box into a client-server network and
Wow.
serves and this predates the World Wide Web, we're talking '93. So it kind of predates the World Wide Web. And we didn't have names for any of this stuff. But what was great about creating the Advanced Media Awards at the Emmys was that I got to meet everybody who was doing, like, we all got together and became a wonderful peer group where everybody who was involved in user experience and user interface design and interactive television and interactive tools
Yeah.
is separated, so including and separated from the internet was sort of involved in this. We had about 4,000 different peers in that peer group. So it was pretty
Wow.
spectacular. And
Yeah.
and so that's sort of my early story. The late story is we got where we are now. People go, "Well, how did you get into AI?" It's like
Yeah.
working on the early, digital platforms with a digital audio workstation platforms and digital video workstation platforms. There was a lot of preliminary primitive machine learning that went
Mm.
into, to building those tools, not anything like the neural networks we have today, but just difference engines and ways to understand,
Yeah.
how to compare and contrast and make some autonomous decisions, or if they weren't fully autonomous, they were pre-programmed. They weren't really thinking
Yeah.
for themselves, but you could imagine a day, like, it was aspirational. "Oh, I've got" I guess the best analogy for people is you have a beaker of red liquid and a beaker of blue liquid, and call those 2 different music tracks. Call the
Mhm.
red liquid the drums and the blue liquid the bass. Now you put them into one beaker and they turn purple, and they're mixed
Mhm.
together forever, like, that's what you do with a mixing console. So, okay, all of that, how that happens requires all kinds of technology, but what if you
Mm.
wanted to unmix them?
Mm.
That was like an aspiration. It's, "Oh, if I could just separate the drums and the bass, how do they get combined?" And, like, okay, so how do I take the vocals out, or how do I take the saxophone out, or how, and after it's all done from a stereo track or from a like a 5.1 set of
Yeah,
stems.
yeah,
And of course, the answer was back then, you don't, but it was aspirational. So today, a company like Suno, you put in your piece of music and out comes the
yeah.
stems. They when they create it, they'll create it in stems for you. It's just a different world that we live in. But this goes back, honestly, wow, I to the late 90s, early 2000s is when this really started, and we got our first neural network up and running, I'm gonna say 2013 or 14. We deployed
Wow.
a primitive neural network at a client, and we're starting to get into, back then it was called deep learning, no one really called it
Mhm,
neural,
mhm.
I mean, it was a term of art, but it was mostly this concept of deep learning, and then
Yeah.
about 2017, after the Attention's All You Need white paper came out, so maybe late 18, early 19, the first, transformer networks
Mhm, mhm.
was started to emerge, and we started to deploy them. The funniest day of my modern career was December 6th, 2022, and I'll remember the day forever. ChatGPT became a public product on
Yeah.
November 30th, 2022. Now, my side hustle, then and now, is I am the professor of advanced media and residence at the Newhouse School at Syracuse, and I
Yeah.
teach in the master's program, and I have some wonderful young people who are studying advanced media business. And final papers were due on December 6th.
Mm.
24 kids in the class. 23 of these papers were perfect 5-paragraph essays. Perfect. A topic sentence with a good thesis, 3 supporting sentences, an amazing 3 supporting paragraphs, and a conclusion. Now, about half of my students did not have English as a first language, and I'd been reading their papers all semester. So it was very clear this was not written by these students. And I'm thinking to myself, this has been out publicly for 6 days.
6
That,
days.
by the way,
Yeah,
that would be crazy enough. On the
yeah.
exact same day, a CEO of one of the biggest global multinational corporations in the world, a client of mine, calls me up, and he is gleeful, and he says, "Shelly, have you seen this thing, ChatGPT?" And I'm like, "Tell me about it," like, just playing naive. And he says to me, "Okay, I'm going to Paris next week, and I used it to make a packing list." And he goes through all of the things he did making a packing list with ChatGPT, and he goes, "And wait, there's more. Our granddaughter's turning 4 in 2 weeks, and my wife wrote a birthday poem for our and it's unbelievable, like, it's incredible." He just goes on and on and on, and I'm listening, and I'm listening, and I'm, uh-huh, just, just playing dumb. And then when he's all finished, I said, Would it surprise you to learn that we have 4 transformer networks running on your premises right now?" And he takes a
Mm.
beat and he says out loud, "Can they make a packing list?" And I'm like, "We're done." This is 6 days after this thing launches. I mean, we're done, man. It's over. So the world has been going at that speed with that level of absurdity
Yeah,
every single morning since
yeah,
then. So
yeah.
that's the story of my life in like 11 seconds, but just, that's it's just the craziest thing. So I've never met Sam Altman personally, but
Mhm.
when I do see him in person, uh, I'm gonna dip him and kiss him full on the mouth because he literally he literally changed my life. We do now, like, all we're doing is agentic workflows
Mm.
and deployment for some of the biggest companies in the world, and it is what an amazing time, and I thought I
Yeah,
knew, like, I'm quoted, there's a, not to quote myself or be a jerk about it, but there's a one of our other very big clients, in their lobby, there's a quote of mine from, like, 2005 or 6, and the quote is, "Today you are experiencing the slowest rate of technological change you will ever
yeah,
experience for the rest of your life."
yeah.
And it's just in quotes. And I did say that back then, and I wrote a book, like, when my first book, I think I'm on book 7 or 8 right now, but the first book I wrote was called Television Disrupted: The Transition from
Mm.
Network to Networked TV, and this quote is in that book because it was exponential then, it was obvious. I was completely right in that book, and I, like, so many great authors, that predict the future, I had it fully correct. Only one problem: I was 18 years too early with my prediction. So it's like, yes, and I will give credit to a lawyer, my personal, my entertainment attorney, dear friend, he's passed away now, Clayton P. Knowles Jr., who used to say, may he rest in peace, what he used to say was, "Shelley," because he used to torture me about this, "you know the difference between a rich genius and a broke genius." I'm like, "No, Clayton, tell me." He goes, "A rich genius is 6 months ahead of his time, and a broke genius is 2 years ahead of his time. Shelley, this is a great
Ah,
idea. It ain't gonna happen now." Like, he just used to say that to me all the time. So yeah, I was a lit this time I wasn't 2 years ahead of my time, but 18 years ahead of what was gonna
yeah,
happen, but this quote is in there. I thought back then stuff was going fast, and our business has always been about what's new, what's next, what
yeah,
does it mean for your business?
yeah,
The speed of change right now, I don't need to tell anybody, it's breathtaking, and for people who
yeah,
are in it every day, it's breathtaking. For people who are not in it, who have real jobs, who need to follow it, it's incomprehensibly fast, and so one of the
mhm,
things we're doing now in all seriousness is keeping our clients, completely aware and up to date and giving them the, intellectual horsepower and the sounding board to respond to what's happening, not react
yeah,
to it, because you can't every bright, new, shiny object is not what it seems, and even honestly, I spend, I would say, 3 to 5 hours a day studying now, which I didn't do
mm,
when I
mm,
was in college. I can't imagine how, any of the people that I work with, considering how, incredibly difficult and time-consuming their full-time jobs are, how they
yeah,
could
yeah,
ever keep up,
yeah,
on their own.
yeah.
I almost can't keep up, and it's actually my job to do it. So, this is a unique time in history. We've not seen anything like this, and it's both exciting and terrifying, and if you're not thrilled out of your mind by this and equally terrified, you might not understand it well enough.
Oh, I agree, Shelley. I agree, and we'll dive into it in a second a bit deeper. But before we go there, you already started to talk about this. So you are a professor, you're an author, you're a coach, you're a technologist. What's what's your day job currently?
So
Right?
the
What are you
day
doing today?
So it's really interesting, for like the last, well, we've been in business 45 years. We started as a production company and a creative services organization and quickly evolved into after the World Wide Web came about, there was the dot-com bubble burst, but it
Yeah.
didn't destroy the need to create websites, and it didn't change the way people were using the internet. That grew on a very predictable path. What w the retail investors in the stock market took a big hit, but the actual technology was world changing, as everyone knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's we made that shift into a production company that not only did, audio and video production, but of course all kinds of digital and
Mhm.
internet and
Mhm.
web production. What my day job was from, like, call it, I don't know, maybe 2005 to 2015, you would have called us a digital transformation consulting firm.
Mhm.
Like, we would help you, data-driven decision making, and turning data into action was almost the full focus of our, job. Every client, had all kinds of data everywhere. They still do, just data in every place. You're trying to do better marketing systems, better audience, create better audience personas, better targeted
Mhm.
cohorts. There was this concept of one-to-many broadcasting was giving way
Yeah.
to, many to one, and also one-to-one. So all of a sudden, everybody was an audience of one, and you needed an awful lot
Mhm.
of data wrangled in order to make that come to pass. And so that's what we really concentrated on, turning data into action. We were a data-driven, tool set,
Mhm.
for all of our clients, and we were working very hard to, create, workflows and processes that would empower our clients to do better work, with their data. Then, um, what happened was really kind of fascinating. We had, uh, the opportunity to get in very, very early working with our friends at Google, and
Mhm.
they were working feverishly on Google Translate, which was at the
Yeah.
time the very largest AI project in the world, and we learned an awful lot about that from them, because we learned an awful lot about that from them, and our clients started to deploy neural networks, or early versions of AI right around 2013, 14, 15, right in that zone, and right
Hmm.
in the 15, 16 zone, transformer networks were being invented, but not fully deployed. There was BERT at
Yeah.
Google working in
Yeah.
Translate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the long story, made shorter because I didn't make it as short as I could have, where what we have now evolved into, call it the last, I don't know, 4 years, pretty much since November 30th, 2022, the day that will live in infamy, we would now be considered either subject matter experts or expert practitioners in AI, and our advisory services are about uh, strategy and roadmap and deployment of agentic workflows that are only newly named agentic workflows. They were simply automated or AI workflows for the past 3 years. The goal was to be
Yeah.
able to get some kind of digital assistants, AI coworkers. People called them uh, intelligence decoupled from consciousness. There was, again, synthetic employees. Everybody still has a different name for them. We don't know what to call
Yeah.
them yet. Clause is the newest, you
Yes.
know, is the newest way to describe it. So now what we're doing, we're helping Fortune 500 companies with their data strategies still, but in the context of deploying agentic workflows. And to be fair, they're on two sides of the house. There's the tools that will live inside the corporation. So if there are skills or agents or agentic workflows in a marketplace that everyone can call from, tools that every single worker can use,
Hmm.
proposal writing agent, media planning agent, media buying agent, deliverables production of IAB standard units agent, like whatever the agent
Yeah.
might do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there's going to be personal assistants that are sort of based on whatever you do. And then
Yeah.
what I'm sure is going to happen is everybody are going to show up with their phone fully loaded for bear with their own, agentic tools, their own claws now in quotes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
those interface, it's the wild west of whatever you think your future is going to look like. And what we do for a living is try to sort that out. Executive education, strategy and roadmaps, really good visibility into the roadmaps of the hyperscalers and the foundational model builders so that you as a senior executive can make better and more informed choices. And I would sum it up by saying that the thing we do the most right now, this is not a technical issue. There's no technological challenge
Mm.
here that any of my clients are likely to solve. Every morning you're gonna wake up, absolutely brand new technology is gonna be available to you.
Yeah.
But where you must work, where you have to put in the time, this is not on the technical debt, but on the cultural debt. This is a
Yeah.
leadership challenge in the extreme, and most of our work is helping senior leaders understand the dynamic, the tools, and
Yeah.
basically plow the paths to set all of their workforce up for success. It's the hardest thing to do right now. To be fair,
Mhm.
people are scared to death of this. Everyone's afraid of losing their job until they start to use the tools, and then they're like, "Wow, my subject matter expertise is a true differentiator between me and the person
Yeah.
sitting next to me." Exactly the
Yeah.
way it was when you didn't have any AI. Like, you will perform according to your gifts. You will perform according to your gifts. Okay, now your gifts include you and your synthetic helpers or your AI helpers or whatever it is and how clever you are about using them. So nothing's really changed with respect to how the workers are going to work. What's changed is
Hmm.
everyone now can choose how empowered they want to be by these tools.
Mm.
Some people are going willingly, happily, and are excited to try the new stuff, and some people are scared to death. And everything in the middle. And by the way, every single person's feelings are valid. There's no right or
Yeah.
wrong here.
Yeah. Shelly, there's so much in there. Before we go there, you alluded to that, right? We were introduced by a common friend from Google, Gogo, because we both are so excited about upping the game in AI for companies.
Sure.
Before we go into that space that you just have alluded to as well, right? It's the culture, it's the people. Let's go one step back. What opportunity do you see with AI for the enterprise? And how would you also describe what companies would miss out if they don't invest in AI?
Well, I think everyone's making the investment now. The benefit is to be determined, and I
Mm.
I say that I say that with a great deal of humility.
Yeah.
Um, every morning I wake up and there is something absolutely brand new. And also, and importantly, for the first time in my professional career, the late mover advantage is greater than the first mover advantage.
Oh, that's a hot take. Tell me more about that.
Well, in the old days, you just needed to move fast and break things. Uber
Yeah.
is not Uber unless they just, damn the torpedoes full speed ahead. And you can look at a lot of startups and you can say the same thing. They
Yeah.
went for it. Move fast and break things was a mantra of Silicon
Yes.
Valley for a long
Yes.
time, and they believed it and they lived it. They walked that walk and it worked.
Yes.
And
They
we
were
know it
successful. They are
worked because
successful. Yeah.
there's no Coke and Pepsi on the internet. There's no Macy's and Gimbals on the internet. There's eBay. There's Google. What's the next thing closest to Google? There isn't anything close to Google. What's the next thing close to Amazon? Walmart. There are different scale businesses. They're just different scale businesses. They do different things. We're talking about companies that were able to become trillion-dollar organizations, and they were
Mm,
one each. So
mm,
first mover advantage and relentless pursuit of each of their North Stars got them there. Today, I've got clients who
yeah.
started on their agentic journeys 6 months ago,
Mhm.
gave it a budget, and they're waking up in the morning going, "Oh, that's 5,000,000 bucks I didn't need to spend. Oh, that's $3,000,000 I didn't need to spend. Oh," and because it was on the pure
Mm,
tech side, it's
mm,
really problematic because had they
mm.
invested in the people side of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We got Copilot for everybody, but only 4% of the people are using it. It's like, so
Using
so
it.
you wasted the
Yeah.
money on Copilot and you didn't train the workforce to use agentic assistance or AI assistance. You've lost on both sides. You lost financially because it hasn't paid off. There's no ROI to having 3,000 Copilot licenses with 4% of the people using it. And you've also lost out because no muscle was built by
Yeah.
teaching the workforce to become AI human coworker
Native. Yeah.
pairs. You've
Mm.
done neither. And so, but people who are coming into it absolutely cold right now going, "Oh, we're so late." It's like, "Are you? Let's work out the roadmap right now, and we're gonna use these tools this way. We're gonna create this culture of continuous adaptation as opposed to this idea of digital transformation or AI transformation,
Yeah.
or change management." And the difference
Yeah.
between the 2 is profound. If you are change managing or if you are digitally transforming or AI transforming, it implies in corporate thinking a beginning, middle, and ending,
Yes.
and a finite time frame with a
Yeah.
finite budget. It's not
Yeah.
true. Change management, we're
Mm.
changed. Digital transformation or AI transformation, we're transformed. No, you're not. This is
Mm.
new every day, and so if you don't have a flywheel into which you can put
It's a
whatever's
constant.
new
Mm.
and consistently learn from it and consistently incorporate it, and it's a leadership challenge. Again, it's not in any way a tech challenge. What's the leadership challenge? So, a new tool shows up, don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Right now, the workflow is like this. You become aware of it. You call the data office. They say, "Well, I don't know if you can have this data." You call the CISO from SecOps and you say, "We think this is secure. We'll test it and let you know." You call legal and compliance and they're like, "No,
Oh
maybe,
no.
maybe yes. Show us the EULA, show us the agreement. We'll let you know. I don't like that." Like,
Yeah.
so you're going to 15 other people on the leadership team. Risk and compliance,
Yes.
general counsel,
Yes.
data office, and then the last
Story
one you
of my
go to
life.
you go to the CFO and you say, "We're gonna get an ROI on this." And the guy's like, "You better show me first because this is 20,000,000
Yes.
bucks. I don't want you spending." So,
Yeah.
okay, the workflow is you as a senior leader go to 5 other senior leaders to get permission, and they all have take their time. However, if you were creating a culture of continuous adaptation, you'd have workflows
Mm.
in place for all of the responses, not reactions, the responses
Mm.
to the need to deploy or immediately
Mm.
test be available. Here's the sandbox, here's the data, here's the way, this is our preliminary approval. Let's go. Determine if this is going to be real. You can do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, great. If it works out, we've got a process already going for you that's monitoring this, and we know the minute you've proven that it's got some legs, we're gonna get it deployed for you. We've plowed the road so that we can work
Mhm.
at at the speed that technology is improving, there are very few big corporations set up to do this, and this is not a tech problem. It just isn't. So our whole
Interesting.
business is
Yeah.
about plowing the road and getting leaders all aligned. We have a very specific process where it's called a leadership alignment workshop or a leadership level set workshop. If I said to you, I want to search the web, you'd say, okay, I know what you mean. Say I want to Google something, you have an instant invariant picture in your mind of what it means to Google something.
Yeah.
Honestly, there are no words like that in the entirety of AI. I say agent, you say agentic workflow, you say
Hmm.
claw, I say autonomous agent, you say AI, the other
AI
person got
employee.
like, it's like, everyone's got like 20 different words for this. You're sitting in a leadership meeting, somebody says, "Well, we'll use AI for that." What do they mean? "Well, we're gonna use an
Yeah.
agent for that." What does that mean? "We're gonna use
What
skills
is?
for that."
Yeah.
What does that mean? So, without everybody having at least a good solid understanding of the vocabulary and what each of these classes of tools can do. So, it's not even knowing the jargon of the alphabet soup or the terms of art. It's about understanding what is a recursive self-evaluating tool? Like, if you have
Mm.
recursive self-evaluation in a skill, objective recursive self-evaluation, what does that do for you? And what is that concept? Now, if I need to put a human in the loop, what does that mean? If I need to manage my workforce so that they are managing orchestrator agents and sub-agents, what do those words mean? What
Yeah.
really happens? Do I badge
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
orchestrator agent? Yes, I do. Does it need identity access management? Yes, it does. Does it need lifecycle management? Yes, it does. Is it an employee of the corporation? Yes, it is. Is there institutional memory associated with it? Right. When the person who's managing it leaves the company, what institutional memory leaves with them? What stays with the agent? Like, all of this
Mm.
stuff is so new,
Yeah.
and none of it is technically hard. You just have to
No.
decide how you
Yeah.
wanna do it. It's a different
Yeah.
world. So our whole business is about that. It's about literally helping people assimilate and accept this idea that we are no longer uniquely the only intelligent thing on earth. And whether you
Yeah.
call artificial intelligence real intelligence or not, what you must acknowledge is that you're sending an agent out into the world.
Yeah.
Dictionary definition: an agent, someone who is
Mhm.
authorized to act on your
On your
behalf.
behalf. Hmm.
You're sending an agent out into the world. It's going to make a decision inside a set of parameters you set, but
Mm.
it's gonna make the decision, and you are gonna be managing that thing that makes a decision exactly the same way you send a foot soldier out into the battlefield, and they make the decisions in the heat of battle what they're gonna do. You don't. They're trained. They're gonna make the
Hmm.
right decision to
Hmm.
do based on the incentives that they are given. The first one is not get shot by the enemy, but there are others, like they had a mission to
Yeah.
accomplish, right? So
Yeah.
this is, not to use a warfare analogy, although it's probably fair because this is a highly militarized technology now, as you can see
Mm.
by what's going on in the Middle East. But at the end of the day, we don't have big corporations ready and set up to manage a synthetic workforce.
Yeah.
We all, not, I'm not saying I know how to do it either, but we know the parameters by which we've seen it be successful at our corporate clients. And so
Yeah.
we've got about 4 years of solid experience now deploying various kinds of autonomous workflows. Whatever you wanna call them now, they are very highly evolved and nowhere near as evolved as they will be, and so you need to be able to be
Yeah.
flexible and adaptable to what's coming because now, like, I hate people who draw exponential curves in the air. I'm gonna draw an exponential curve in the air. Oh, wait, that's not steep enough. It's this.
Yes.
It's like it's
Yeah.
straight up and down. So, yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's a long-winded way of describing it because to be fair, there are no words to describe it. We
Mm.
don't have vocabulary yet. I could use jargon all I want. What are we really doing? We're helping people basically turn data into action. We're just using new tools.
Mm. Thanks, Shelly. You, you said two things that I would like to go a bit deeper on. Number one is, let's not call it AI transformation, and I agree with you. I agree with you because it is not finite. But how should we call it then?
I I mean, look, my jargony, consulting-y term for it is creating a culture of continuous adaptation or continuous adaptability. This idea
Yeah,
that every day something is going to be new and you have to have
yeah,
mechanisms in place to evaluate and understand whether or not this is important, and if it
yeah,
is important, how to immediately get it into test and
yeah.
from that test immediately deploy,
Into
or deploy
production.
it
Yeah,
and all done inside of guidelines with the
yeah.
ethos, logos, and pathos of your organization. Does this meet your mission, vision, and value statement? Do you
Mm-hmm.
have a manifesto or a statement of principles about your AI deployment? So, what we do with our leadership teams is we ask them to have a committee that writes literally a manifesto or a statement of principles. We will only ethically scrape for training. We will only use the minimum amount of energy required in order to
Mm.
be responsible users of AI and respect the natural resources. What it doesn't matter what you
Yeah,
actually make your principles, but everyone should have stated principles. Then once that's there, the goal of whatever small leadership committee, whether it's the AI committee or a chief AI officer or a group of
yeah,
it's whoever that you've anointed to be the tech czar, the AI czar of your leadership team, they will need to deploy AI within those guidelines. So there will be a technical manifestation of those guidelines. So we call it a culture of continuous adaptation. There are
yeah,
many other names I've heard, but at the end of the day, the most important concept isn't what you call it. It's the old way was to give it a timeline and a budget and call it a transformation project and treat it like a project
yeah.
on
Like a
on either
project. Yeah,
an agile or a waterfall schedule. One way, it didn't matter. It has a beginning, middle, and ending and a budget.
yeah.
That's gone. Your new intellectual framework is I am building mechanisms that will never go offline, that allow me to
Mm-hmm.
look at new technology, determine if it's meaningful to us, and get it in test and deployed as fast as is required, which at this point, I hate what I'm about to say to you. Can I innovate at the speed of TikTok? Can I innovate as
Uh,
fast as you doom scroll?
mm,
It's hard. It's not what everybody's wired to do. The bureaucracies are bureaucracies. They slow things down. And you
yeah,
say, well, uh, I'd like to say that people are smart and bureaucracies are stupid, but that's not right. Bureaucracies are brilliant because they are slow enough to keep things. The biggest bureaucracy in the world is also the biggest economic power in the world. It's the US government. There's nothing more bureaucratic than that. So, you say, well, bureaucracies are terrible. It's like, really? I don't know. We're going on 250 years is going just fine. So, I mean, politics notwithstanding, the mechanism of the US
yeah,
government is something that, it protects
yeah.
itself. Every big corporation I work for, the bureaucracy is there to protect.
Mm,
So the middle management mafia, as much as they push back or you call it the deep state or, whatever middle management layer you want, they resist, but they resist and the corporation thrives. And the bigger the corporation
mm,
is, the more mistakes they can make financially. They don't like making
yeah,
mistakes, but they have the financial wherewithal to do it.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, I don't know what to call it. I think all these words will make themselves clear to us. Claws are cool for this week. They're gonna live. I don't know. Jensen Wong
and
jumped on it. Now we have Nemo
yeah.
Claw,
But
and
it
we're gonna have
also had
Open
like,
Show.
I don't know, four times it was renamed, right?
Yeah, you had
So
it was Clawdbot, then it was Moltbot, now it's OpenClaw,
Open
and
Claw. Yeah,
then there are all kinds of clones of it and rewrites.
yeah,
You've got NanoClaw,
yeah.
Nanobot, Ironclaw, ton of them. And then Anthropic came out with Channels, which is their version of OpenClaw, but it's by Anthropic. So
Mm,
it's so easy to hook intercom up directly to Claude Code, and it is my favorite way to talk to Claude Code. I'm usually a command line guy, so I have a bunch of terminal windows open here, but the stuff I'm coding for myself, I'm doing all through intercom into Claude Code. I haven't written this is here's a little bit of a weird, personal admission. I have not Opus 4.6 came out around February 5th,
yeah,
February 6th. I've not used I've not written a line of code personally since then. I've reviewed
since then.
code, but I have
Mm,
not physically opened up VS Code to write code,
mm,
traditionally
mm.
sit here and type a line of code. It's well, it's months now, and
Yeah, it's changing.
I I I could see a time when I'm just talking to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it's pretty clear that's where it's going, and I
And
think
that's not far off. That's
no.
it's probably if we would talk here in in 4 months again, we're probably there, right? It's going fast.
I'd say, it's more than 3 months and less than 18. You'll be in a place where, I mean, right now, the way to get decent code is to, uh, make codecs from OpenAI and, Open
Hmm.
4.6, running, Claude code running 4.6 adversaries. Have them correct each other's code. You'll get the best output there. We kind of nicknamed Anthropic Anthropic because it writes bloated code. I mean, it just does. But, you can get it tighter for MVPs and for,
It
proof of
works. Yeah.
concept. For minimum shippable product, you gotta be a little careful, to be fair. Your 10x engineers are like 30x engineers now, and they can really make this
Hmm.
thing sing. But no one should get arrogant about, "Oh, I made an app. Oh, I made a website." It's like, yeah, if you opened up that code base, you wouldn't deploy it. It's good for you on your desktop. It's amazing if you put it up in, Cloud Run on GCP, go in good
But
health.
don't go further with it.
But
Yeah.
I mean, you're not it's not uh,
No.
one of my clients showed me their app that they made. They were so excited about it. They put the whole thing up in Cloud Run, and in their .env folder were all of their credentials in clear text. I'm like, "What did you like, you it's like, yeah, you understand that like you basically put the keys to the kingdom, like, you
Yeah.
put it on GitHub in a public. I'm like, "Oh my god,"
Yeah.
in a public repo. So the lack of understanding, I hate to say this, I'm expecting the AI apocalypse in the next few months because OpenClaw, formerly Claudebot, has been downloaded by like a jillion people. It's got like 100,000 GitHub stars. That thing is security Swiss cheese. Like, if people start putting that on there, someone's gonna empty this thing is gonna empty somebody's
Yeah.
bank account, and we're gonna hear about it, and it's gonna be a
Yeah.
black eye for the whole industry, not because the tech is bad, because people are
No.
idiots. I mean,
Exactly. It's too
so
easy to be used.
and it's too easy to mess up, and it's
Yeah.
so exciting, like, when you take a non-tech person and you give them this new muscle. Um, I have a my favorite story about this. I have a client 2 years ago now. She's a CMO of a major CPG firm and global, and she was trying to bring her leadership to a big marketing organization, couple 3,000 marketers, and globally, lots of languages,
Mhm.
like 140 markets, 80 of
Mhm. Mhm.
60 languages. I mean, we're talking like
Mhm.
big right? And she was trying to figure out how to get her leadership team inspired. I said, "Look, choose a personal project, something you wanna do that really matters to you. You'll know what the outcome is, you'll understand what you want, and it will help you. It'll explain to you deeply and personally, how to use these tools. You can ask the model basically to help you learn. And when you show it to your leadership team, they're going to go, wow, the boss made this. It's going to be great." So she's a young mother. She had kids who were in their just preteens, 10, 11, 12, 13,
Mhm.
14, that zone. And there were one of them or two of them were in travel soccer. Now, for people listening who don't know what that means, after school, there are after school programs, and if you live in certain areas, there are these travel teams where if your child is good enough or is interested enough, they get in to go play, like, at a more professional level or better training. So after any one of these soccer games, there's all the parents, and I have 3 kids and 4 granddaughters, so I've been doing this for years. I really deeply appreciated this. You become snack parent, snack mom, or snack dad. What does that mean? So the practice is over, the game is over. Okay, you're bringing the orange slices, you're bringing the Dunkin' Donuts, you're bringing the coffee, you're bringing the
Mhm.
carrot
Mhm.
slices, you're bringing the whatever, right? And you have to, like, set that up. So what she did was amazing. She first did a website where everybody could sign up to be snack parent.
Yeah.
Then she hooked up Stripe so you could pay if you didn't wanna, like, bring, you could just do the money. Then she made a mobile web app. Then she made a dashboard so she could figure out who the deadbeats were. Then she then she did a performance marketing campaign so she could torture people about it's their turn, like, did you so she made an entire marketing ecosystem around being snack parent and snack mom and snack dad, and literally tortured the other, like, 20, couples that were involved in this particular team. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It was running locally on her computer, then she put it up
Yeah.
on Cloud Run in GCP, and she that but the here's the killer part. She brought it into her LT meeting when it was, like, ready for prime time. Took her about 3 weeks to get it done because back then, a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, it was a little harder than it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Now you can spin that up in a couple of hours. Took her a couple of weeks, and she also has a full-time job to this day. Brings it to her leadership team. You wanna see the blood drain out of everybody's faces when the boss, who's completely non-technical, walks in and says, "So I made this website, this mobile web app. Here's my Stripe integration.
integration.
Here is, my performance marketing campaign, and here's the dashboard. And look, these are my audience personas, and these are my cohorts, and here's my actual CRM system, and here's the content management system that I'm using in order to determine what everybody gets. Oh, and by the way, my next feature is going to be we're going to take pictures from each game, and we're going to make them available, and we're going to have star of the game. We're going to be able to pressure parents into bringing better snacks because their kid was featured in the picture." He's like just going on and on and on. And I'm like, wow, this is like where we are in the world. And
Yeah,
it's the way you get corporate leaders to change the cultures. And it's,
yeah,
not everybody can do it, but not everybody has the time. But if you do have the time, what's the line? Kids always know when the parents are lying. So if you if you're the leader of an organization and you're not using it, you're just talking about it, no one's gonna believe it's important to you. You walk
yeah,
in with new stuff you're banging out every day. "Hey, this is reading PowerPoints. Hey,
yeah,
this is making spreadsheets. This is, doing time series analysis. This is our budget." Like, you start making all these things,
yeah,
all of a sudden, right, everybody knows
yeah,
it we're migrating over to some kind of human AI partnership, some kind of synthetic hybrid workforce. It's early days. I don't know what to call any of this stuff yet.
yeah. And Shelly, you know, the the question for me is, who is best placed in the organization to actually make that happen? Right? We are talking about technology. I think I heard you earlier say that the technology is not really the key here. It's more on adoption and adaption. This usually is, I would say, a proper HR job. How would you see that?
So what happens in practice, we have not previously needed every leader across the enterprise to be
Mhm.
part of this.
Mhm.
It was a data office. I'm the
Mhm.
CMO. I call up the data office. I need data. What does that mean? It means these 3 databases, this external database, this, you lay out what you need. You work with the data office, chief data officer assigns somebody to it, and, oh, yeah, legal's gonna some associate's gonna sign off on the agreement with whatever
Mhm.
vendor you're
Mhm.
using, whatever resources you're using. And so all these processes went through normal channels in the business.
Mhm.
Now what you need is a champion and a
Mhm.
methodology, because
Mhm.
it's so cross-discipline and so many people need to weigh in. And what happened is, and this is nobody's fault, it's just reality, we have Franken-monster AI everywhere. Nobody was getting any satisfaction from legal, no one was getting any satisfaction from anywhere. The Microsoft Salesforce is the best Salesforce in the world. There's nobody that can sell technology better than Microsoft. There just isn't. That's a compliment, it is not pejorative in any way. To their credit, they went in and sold 3,000 licenses to everybody off the bat. $30 a
Yeah.
month, you get Copilot. Problem is there's like 14 different Copilots. There are 14 different
Yeah.
engineering teams in Microsoft, and there's 14 different P&Ls, and they're all it's a marketing term that's attached to different technologies and different capabilities across every different product. It was ready, fire, aim at Microsoft, and I would say that to anybody who worked at Microsoft in front of me, and I'm on record saying it. I'm not saying anything that anyone doesn't know. And so the adoption of Copilot was pretty low, and it
Mhm.
really kind of messed things up in a way it shouldn't have. But now people are coming out of that, and what when you say who is the contact point could be absolutely any leader on the leadership team, but what
Mhm.
needs to exist is the mechanism for all of the leaders to be responsible for their part of it, understanding that we need to speed up in every way our ability to test, approve, and deploy, and then continue to test and continuously improve. You can't just deploy technology now. This is another thing people don't understand, at least not when they're starting. They certainly find out soon enough. If you buy a SaaS product, Salesforce, I don't wanna pick on them, but it's the first I don't, but I just first one comes to mind. You get Salesforce because it's a CRM system you didn't have to build, except you
Yeah.
kinda do have to build it. You're gonna hire a consulting firm for some ungodly number that's gonna come in and customize it for you, and every time somebody wants a new feature, you're gonna send a ticket, and the tickets go to the ticket system, and someone on the vendor side is gonna, get that ticket fulfilled when it can get
Yeah.
fulfilled. There's a mechanism, and it's slow as molasses, and it's painful because you don't really know what to ask for, so you know when something breaks, but you don't quite know what you want. It's like it's a highly evolved system that's been in place for a long time. Some people do it
Mm,
better than others. I'm generalizing, I shouldn't. There are some incredibly good systems out there where people ticket gets written, it gets interpreted, it gets done, like, works like clockwork.
mm,
Mostly that's not true. So when you think about it, we now need a completely new way to think about how to get this through the enterprise. We just do.
mm.
And and that's really where the magic is. So it's not who, it's every single
It's
leader in the
how.
business should be a champion of the AI that they need, but
Mm,
corporate needs to take all the Franken monster AIs that are everywhere, come up with the corporate build, the corporate model garden, the corporate agent marketplace, if that's what it's gonna be called, or skills
mm, mm,
marketplace, the corporate, permissions table where agents are badged and permissioned, where they are life cycle managed. You can buy that from Microsoft, you can buy that from Google, you could even buy it from Amazon. Each one is slightly different than the other. If you're an AWS shop or a Google shop or an Azure shop, you don't even have to have any thought about it. It's like all those tools exist at those places, but they must be deployed. And so
mm,
you must now
mm.
figure out a way to integrate your choice. I have agents. They need to be managed. I literally
Yeah.
need to create a managed agent environment. Who does that? Whoever needs to do it. But to do it, they're going to need help from some vendor. You're not building that permission system yourself because you don't have the security chops to do it. Like when
Mm,
Microsoft does that for you, when Google does that for you, nobody has. I mean, they have different security. No one's got better security than Google or Microsoft or AWS. These guys, it's what they do. They know how to protect themselves, and they know how to protect you. So all of that agentic stuff has to be deployed. Once it
yeah.
is deployed, who's in charge of making sure all that works? Whoever wants to be. That's the whole point of this. I don't want to have to go through, let me call the CIA, the CAIO, let me call the AI police and tell them I want to do something. It's, hey guys, I just found a vendor. It goes into the machine. The machine goes, "Yeah, we have a version of that," or
Yeah.
"We already have 6 of these projects." Go like, you just need to consolidate, and you need to spend some quality time, building new workflows and new processes to empower the leadership of the company to work as quickly as they can think. And this is the challenge now, and it's what I mean by a culture of continuous adaptation.
Mhm.
The goal is to get from where we are right now, which is slower than it needs to be no matter who you are, and get you operating at the quickest speed that your enterprise can possibly safely
Take.
operate at.
Mhm.
It's different for every company. Like
Yeah.
there's no one way. It is 100% cultural. It is not technical. It just isn't. There's nothing we're talking about here that's a technical challenge right now. Then maybe later, but other than faster than light travel and teleportation, like in Star Trek, you can do anything you want. You can't travel faster than light and you can't teleport. Both of those need more energy than there is in the observable universe or infinite energy. Everything else, knock yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very interesting take. And I think this is unfortunately also the most difficult one, right? Because again, technology is fast, is quick, you can make it happen. But changing a culture, changing how people think and act, that's that's usually difficult. So how when you are tasked for that, how do you start
Well,
helping organizations?
we
Yeah.
start with what we call leadership level set or leadership alignment, and every leadership team resists for a second
Mm,
because they think they all know, but or that they've done it already, which is fine. Many have, and which is also great. But the reason we like to start there, no matter how many times everybody's gotten together and talked about AI, is that A, I have a slightly different approach to this than others. And B,
Yeah.
I don't need any of the leaders on a leadership team or a senior leadership team to remember one word of jargon or any alphabet soup or become technologists where they're not technologists. Leader A says to leader B, 2 weeks after the leadership alignment, remember when Shelly showed us that thing that does that thing? We need to do that. That is enough to have a real strategic conversation as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to leader A and leader B get in a room and one says AI, the other says agent, and they think they're talking about the same thing.
Mm.
Right, and all of a sudden, because the vocabulary is not defined, and neither has a complete mental picture of what the other's talking about, even though they have a complete mental picture of their own, and so without having a very Socratic or dialectic conversation about what this is, what this isn't, what we can do, what we can't do, how we do it, what are best practices, like, it's just better to get everybody on the same page literally first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the next thing is strategy and roadmap right after that.
Mm.
Everybody's got some kind of strategy and roadmap, but we have a process by where we get that together. And then various workshops for train the trainer. Training someone to prompt is child's play. The models will basically train you. It's like poker, minutes to learn and a lifetime to master. So, well,
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before.
it just is. I mean, there are a lot of games,
Yeah.
golf, put the ball here, hit the ball, get it in the hole. Okay, now you know the entire game of golf. Good luck. Skiing, it's like, I'm gonna strap some boards on your feet, and it's gonna be very cold, so you'll wear some winter clothes, and I'm gonna throw you down the hill. That's called skiing. There's a little more to it than that, but at least you know
A
what it's
little.
called, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't take a lot of time to understand the rules. It does take a little bit of time to put them into practice.
Yeah.
And that's where we start. We start by getting people the ability to put stuff into practice. And then
Brilliant.
our consulting business is a little deeper than that because we operate at the nexus of technology, media, entertainment, and marketing. So we sit
Mm.
right in the middle of that. And because of my own background, I've written a lot of television commercials. I've directed a lot of TV commercials. I've written music for an uncountable number of television commercials. I've made a lot of technology to make commercials faster and make TV shows
Mhm.
to literally produce them faster and more
Mhm.
efficiently
Mhm.
and distribute them more efficiently. We built
Mhm.
systems to get commercials inserted and to tag stuff. At one point, we were doing over 1,500 promos a week for syndicated television. Ricky Lake, Judge Judy, Judge Joe Brown, Seinfeld in syndication, Moesha in syndication, Baywatch in syndication. It's like we're building these promos every week. Each
Yeah.
one had 150 stations that were airing the show, and each
Mm.
station
Mm.
needed a tag. That's today at 5 o'clock right here on Channel 9. That's tomorrow at 3 o'clock right here on Channel 4. Like every one of those commercials were 25
Yeah.
seconds long plus a 5
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
tag, or 23 seconds long and a 7 second tag, or 27 seconds long and a 3 second tag. And they all had to go out the door. When we started it, they had to go out FedEx, but that's how long ago it was. And then they had to go out on satellite, and then they had to go out
Yeah.
over the internet. Like, this evolved over time, but someone had to make them, and when you're grinding out 1,500, 2,000 of those a week, you really wanna automate them. You
Yes.
just do. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
our DNA goes all the way back to get a customized piece of content, right person, right time, right place, right message, out the door. And how good could you be at that? How fast could you be at that? How efficient could you be at that? Because it was the difference, honestly, the margin, they were paying you the same amount of money, no
Yeah.
matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
You get, Imma make this up, $24 to send the FedEx. You got $24 to land this commercial at the TV station. You used the satellite, it was a lot more efficient. Used the internet, it was a lot more efficient. 25 bucks for the FedEx, 24 bucks for the FedEx, less efficient. How can I get to, when the highest bandwidth available was an ISDN line? How do I figure out how to get this promo to the right station in time for them to cut it up and air it? So, I mean, that's the humble beginnings of where we are right now. Now we're talking about customizing, basically for an individual, being able to generatively build the right messaging for
Mhm.
whatever your environment is and it's still get the right message in front of the right person, the right place, the right time, lowest amount of money, highest possible quality. Hasn't
Yeah.
changed. Hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But the tools have changed.
Shelly, talking about change, talking about time. It was amazing and it was a pleasure to talk to you, but I also have to commit to the time that you allowed me for today's conversation, and we are almost at the end. So maybe one last question at the end. I would like to get your view on the future. Where do you see AI in, let's say, 2 years from now? What will it mean and be for business? And what will it mean and be for us humans?
I don't know the future any better than anybody else does, but I know what the path looks like. I don't know where it leads. Right
Yeah.
now, all of us are responsible for strategy, tactics, and execution. As senior business leaders, you must decide what you wanna do. You must
Hmm.
figure out how to do it, and then you have to actually execute on those plans. So imagine you are teaching a self-driving car how to be a self-driving car, and the strategy is I'm gonna teach a car to drive by itself. So my thought is I'll teach it to go to the supermarket and back. Great. So the car has a gas pedal, a brake pedal, and a steering wheel, and you put it in learn mode, and you drive the car to the supermarket, and after the 5,000th time, you feel good about taking your hands off the wheel for 60 seconds, and you put your hands back on the wheel, and then 5,000 more drives to the supermarket, you take your hands off the wheel for 5 minutes, and it's working. And so over time, it learns how to drive. The car evolves. So at some point in the future, it doesn't have a steering wheel, it doesn't have a gas pedal, it doesn't have a brake pedal. And you are no longer responsible for executionally driving the car
Hmm.
or the tactics of figuring out how to get there. You simply are going to put the car in self drive mode and drive it will. So you no longer execute vision. You no longer figure out tactics to execute vision, but you are still a strategist. You must outthink your competitors because everyone can execute at the highest level
Hmm.
automatically. The minute you think it up, it gets executed by something that can
Hmm.
execute. You'll never add a column of numbers faster than Excel. You're never going to write a paragraph of copy or paint a picture or shoot a photograph or do any production faster than AI is going to do production. At some point, the quality of the AI's output will match your aesthetic needs, whatever they
Hmm.
are. I don't want to
Hmm.
get into an inspired creative versus required creative. We're talking about the required creative of
Yeah.
doing a page of deliverables for distribution of messaging. So that required creative can be executed by automated tools, whatever they are. That's the guaranteed future. So how
Yeah.
will we evolve from people who are used to doing strategy, tactics, and execution to just strategists? Not everyone's going to make the cut. And in the future, what does that mean? Because we're on a collision course with AGI, artificial general intelligence, which, although undefined at the moment, is generally accepted to mean tools that will be able to literally be a data center filled with every PhD in the world at your disposal. So, does that happen in a month, in 3 months, in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years? Never. I don't know. If we stay on the path we're on with large language models,
Hmm.
that's we're gonna get there to some point within the next 2 years, and that's pretty easy to understand. But at any minute during that time frame, one of the foundation model builders is going to say, "Hey, look, it thinks. Your guess is as good as mine." And this is why I'm going to leave you with one thought, and I do have to jump. The everybody listening, if you don't put your hands on keyboard every single day with a paid version of one of the 3 big models, and I'd like you to have all 3 so you can compare and contrast, you have to have Gemini, you have to have Claude Code, you have to have Codex from OpenAI. They're $20 a month. Pony it up, roll up your sleeves, get your hands on keyboard. You need an intellectual framework that is personal, you need an emotional framework that is personal so that you can just from your own gut say, "This is what I think is gonna happen." But you're gonna do it from a position of you'll know what it does and you'll know what it
Hmm.
doesn't do, not because I told you, not because you read about it, because you did it. So you have the power to change what is right now looking like 7 people have the inevitable control over our future, to you being an adult in the room and you taking control of your own future. And that's being that powerful. Whatever comes, you'll at least be ready for, and that is the my best advice that I can give. We know it's coming, we don't know what it is, but everybody should sharpen their tools right now. Like, get sharp on this right now so that whenever it is, that comes, you have the proper tools in your tool belt, in your arsenal, to be able to adapt and to properly respond to what's coming. And I think that's the best we can all do.
Thank you so much, Shelly. They're really good words for the end. I thank you so much for being with me, for having this great conversation. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.